You're live.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Group Thread. I'm your host, Jennifer Mota, and today we're kicking off the second episode of Group Thread, La Cultura that Connects Us, celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month and acknowledging Latin music as more than a genre. Join us every Friday this month as we have guest directors, journalists, artists, and programmers celebrate a heritage that is constantly expanding worldwide through music and art. To start, I'll introduce myself. I'm Jenny Mota. I'm a Dominican-American multimedia creative and journalist, currently living on the island, by the way. Most of my work focuses on diasporic music, such as reggaeton, hip-hop, Dominican dembow, and how these music styles intersect with politics, fashion, and Latinx identity. This week, our theme is Somos, Fluent, and it's about celebrating the freedom and fluidity with which certain artists embrace all sides of their culture, life, and art, rather than choosing just one side, Spanish or English, Latino or American. These artists live in the in-between and own it, making their own rules along the way. Shout outs to y'all. Today, to discuss the topic, we have Brooke, Ambar Lucid, and CJ. Throughout the show, put your questions in the chat and we'll ask them at the end. So welcome. Let's start and let's get to know our guests a little more. Today, we have San Antonio native Brooke with us, who is of Mexican descent. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing so great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is an awesome time. Sure.
So tell me a bit more about experiencing growing up Mexican-American in San Antonio and your particular experience.
Yes. Oh my gosh, girl. I was actually just back home literally 2 days ago for an event over there. So shout out to my city. Growing up in San Antonio was so beautiful. I love it. We celebrate our Hispanic culture over there. With like our restaurants, and we even have this huge parade called Fiesta that celebrates our culture. We encourage, young artists and musicians to go and kind of show their talent, and we like to support one another. We're very proud. Our food is like a huge part of who we are. There's so much I could say about my city, and that was such a blessing to grow up in a city that celebrated, our heritage. I'm Mexican American, born and raised in San Antonio, and to have that and to be raised listening to all types of music, especially over there, we have Tejano music, of course, Selena, my number one. Everything. Having all of those connections and ties was really something special to grow up with, because we were always proud of who we were, my family and I.
That's so beautiful. We also have Ambar Lucid with us today. Ambar, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Estamos todo bien en la lucha. So tell me a bit about you growing up Dominican Mexican in the East Coast, specifically New Jersey, and you also spent some time in the Caribbean. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, growing up in Jersey, I actually always felt very connected to my Dominican roots, just because, I was very close to New York. So was always surrounded by Dominicans and Dominican culture. And for most of my childhood, most of my family from my mom's side, they all lived in DR. So they would be back and forth. And I also lived in DR for a few years in my early childhood. And I don't know, I feel like I'm very thankful to have grown up in a very diverse town, very close to a very diverse city. And I just feel like, my culture has subconsciously influenced me just because it's always been a part of my life.
I love that. You grew up within community. So yeah. We also have CJ with us today. CJ, tell us about you experiencing growing up Puerto Rican with Puerto Rican roots and in Staten Island. I want to know more about your particular experience.
Growing up in Staten Island, it's not a lot of Puerto Ricans there. I really just started getting familiar with touching my roots with, my fan base and stuff like that. But growing up, I always had, my family, my mom's side of the family, my dad's side of the family. I have a very big family. So, we'll go parties and stuff like that. And, they'll play a bunch of music and stuff. But I kind of grew up on, listening to hip hop and stuff like that. English was my first language. I didn't really grow up, speaking Spanish, but now that I'm older, I want to get more in tune with my roots. So, I'm diving deeper into that, as the days go by. So
that's so, I feel like that's such a relatable conversation. We often think about Latinidad and sometimes people questioning their Latinidad because they don't speak Spanish. And Ali, I remember reading something where you mentioned that your parents didn't want you to speak Spanish due to discrimination. And I think that all experiences are valid, right? But we also have to acknowledge that so much of this was also rooted in survival.
For sure. 100%. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yes, 100%. And CJ, I actually didn't know that. That's awesome. It's so cool to see like other people, like me who grew up, of course, like around our culture and, our family, our traditions. We're proud of who we are. But that's the one part that, was very hard growing up and sometimes even now. But the thing is being able to own who you are and like still put forth your best, that's what I feel I've always done. And especially now, I mean, guys, I have my first Spanish album. Like, it's just amazing how life works. And as long as you try your best and you lead with your heart. And also we have this conversation, like you said, is so important because, there are a lot of people like us out there and, it can definitely be can make you insecure at times, but talking about it and encouraging one another is awesome. The best thing we can do. And I'm always constantly learning. I'm telling everybody, okay, teach me how to say this, this, and that. And at least I can sing from my heart. Like that's what I try to do.
Yeah, I love that. And I really want to get into just pretty much just talking about the foundation of what these influences or what influences you guys in particular, because I feel like your environment plays such a big role in forming and shaping your interest in music and how you individually evolve as artists. So let's start with you, Amber. How did your environment and bicultural upbringing influence the artist that you are today?
I think for a long time, since I was just constantly around like, Latin culture and like always hearing like salsa merengue playing in the background, I feel like during my teen years, it kind of pushed me away from that just because like I feel like, I was so used to these things always being in front of me that I wanted to explore other things. So as I got older, I started getting more into like psychedelic rock and like indie music. But I still had like subconsciously, like when I started writing music, I had these like Latin rhythms, chords, just like, naturally within me. And, I feel like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I just like blanked out mentally. I like had like a whole thing that I was going to say. And then like, I even forgot what we were talking about for a second.
I do it all the time. You're great.
ADHD brain girl. That happens to me all the time. It's fine. But we're talking literally about your influences and how your environment really influenced who you are today. And I think you answered very beautifully. I think that so many of us too, and it's a conversation that comes up a lot. Like sometimes we're just like, we used to be in the car and we're like, I want my rap. I want my hip hop. Like, I don't want to hear bachata.
That was me with like, because there was a period of time where I was like super obsessed with like the Beatles, and then I got into the Doors and like Jimi Hendrix, and like I wanted to keep listening to that stuff. Like I don't want to hear the same song that I hear like at every family party like over and over again. But actually like, being around like just the same music and like having these influences actually encouraged me to find and seek other Latin artists that didn't fall into like the specific like Latin artists that like, I had grew up witnessing like through music that was around me. And actually that's like that motivation to find an artist that I could like personally relate to and like feel inspired by led me to finding one of my favorite artists ever, Mon Laferte. To this day, like I love her so much. And when I discovered her music, it was like mind blowing to me because I was like, oh my God, like she has tattoos, like she has rock influence, like she's herself, like her music videos are very abstract. It was like mind blowing. And I think think, for me, like once I discovered like a whole different side of music, of Latin music, that wasn't just like, meant to be just Latin music. It definitely influenced me and motivated me and encouraged me to just be the artist that I am without having to put myself in a box.
I love that. I know that in the LA Times, you actually mentioned that about the bubble, that the globalized idea of what the Latin pop star should look like and be like and sing like is something that you don't want to fit into. And I love that. I really do. I love that for you. And I'm excited to continue seeing everything you're going to drop. We're all rooting for you. Ali, tell me about you. How did your particular experience in San Antonio, being of Mexican descent, encouraged you and motivated your music?
Oh my gosh. It's been like full circle moment recently. It's kind of incredible. Well, of course, growing up listening to so many different types of music, of course, Spanish music, everyone from like Santana to Mark Anthony to, of course, Selena, Shakira, Jennifer Lopez. I mean, so many people, but also, of course, to like a lot of the, pop influences as well, like I don't know, Madonna and George Michael, and just literally I'm a like library of music in my brain. All of that influenced me, and of course my family. Like we are such a musical family as far as they just love music. They can. My dad actually can carry a tune. My mom, I love you, mom. She can't. But having that, that background of growing up with all different types of music, appreciating all these different types of artists and bands and stuff, like really kind of filled my mind with so many just colors and so much love for different types of music. So in my music now that you hear all of that influence kind of merged into one, and my album is going to be very diverse and filled with lyrics from me, a lot of songs that I was just heavily involved in the creation, and sounds also from home that remind me of home, as well as kind of a fusion of pop and reggaeton and all of these things. But it's awesome.
That's so dope. And CJ, you're from Staten Island. You spoke a bit about the hip hop influences, but I really want to get to know more about the outside influences as well, through your heritage that has also influenced you. Not just because I'm Dominican, but I write about them both. So I appreciate so much how just the collaboration and the way you and El Alfa are and the songs that you guys are pushing. So how did you get to that, but also centering like your influences and your environment?
Pretty much, since I was young, like I said, I always had a love for hip hop. That was like my first love when it came down to music. But my mom always used to play, songs in the car, songs in the house while cleaning and stuff like that. Daddy Yankee, Don Omar, Dago. So I would hear that music, you know what I'm saying, knowing that I have a love for hip hop, but I always wanted to get more in tune with that music. And I didn't speak fluent Spanish, but I feel like that always gave me the feeling to want to learn. So when I started making music on my own, I decided I'm like, I love hip hop. That's what I'm gonna do. But who says I can't do both? You know what I'm saying? So who says I can't, touch my heritage and reach back to my background and mix it in with the rap and the hip hop that I'm doing and the music that I'm doing. So I kind of just like took it upon myself to like just start making music with Alpha, Osuna, Anuel, and I started building those relationships. But it's like the love that I'm getting from my people is like it's amazing to feel, and it's a dream come true, because 10 years ago, I would have never thought I would even be in that space. I would have never even thought I would have had that, fan base or those supporters. So, yes, it's definitely a blessing for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely think that you're like a perfect example of the kind of bridges that are being created right now, right? Different cultures, different languages, but in a way, we're all a singular movement, right? Like, reggaeton, Dominican dembow, hip hop,
Pretty much all the same, because you got to think about it like they're talking about the same things I'm talking about. They're talking about the same things that everybody in the hip hop industry is talking about. They just speak in Spanish, you know what I'm saying? We got Latin trap and then we got hip hop trap. So why not merge both and me be the bridge for both of them? You know what I'm saying? Not too many artists is doing what I'm doing right now. Like right now I'm working on the double album. I'm doing the first ever English project and a Latin project. And I'm gonna put them together. It's gonna be a total of 20 songs. So just like stuff like that, and I just did a huge show in New York back at home. It's called Summer Jam, and that's been going on for like 20, 30 years, I believe. And it's a hip hop concert, well, known for a hip hop concert. And I actually brought out the first Latin artist ever to touch that stage. So there's just doing things like that. It's just like a lot of first times, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad I could be that bridge from hip hop to Latin. So.
Yeah, it was definitely an epic moment. And seeing Farruko, El Alfa, Wu-Tang, it was just a perfect lineup. It was a crazy lineup.
Like when you hear those names, you'll never think they'll cross paths. Like when you hear Wu-Tang and you hear Farruko, you like, it doesn't add up. But now it's being normalized. I had to, I don't want to take credit for starting it, but I had to be that bridge in order for it to look normal, you know what I'm saying? For them to, have pictures together and be on the same stage together. So I always wanted to do that. That was a dream of mine. So I'm finally, accomplishing my dream. So it feels good.
I love that. And I want us to kind of let go of like the difference in languages and everything, because essentially it's all Black rooted. It's all rooted in the African diaspora. Without Jamaica and the Caribbean, a lot of these movements wouldn't have been born. And to see so many people united, regardless of the languages, and just making art is super dope. And for you to be a part of that speaks to another conversation in which artists like you guys are literally making your own rules and driving and creating your own path in the way that you guys want to, right? And I really want to get into this. And we're going to start talking about the different experiences y'all had. And I want to start with Ambar, because I remember reading somewhere where they told you that like you wouldn't have made it just singing Spanish or something like that, right? You were told as a young person. And I think that the fact that you're singing in Spanglish and so authentic to who you are, while also dismissing any idea of like what you should look like or be like, is super important. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, so I was actually told that if I sang in English, people wouldn't pay attention to me because I was not like the ideal like pop star. And growing up, like it was yes, growing up, it was very normalized. And like, keep in mind, I was a kid when people were telling me this, because I've always wanted to be an artist. Like from the second that like my mind was able to be conscious of the concept of like singing, I wanted to do that. I was always very naturally drawn to music. And I always said like, I want to be an artist. I want to be an artist. Like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be on stage. I want to sing to people. I want to have an audience. And I would just get constantly put down and being told, like, I would get told like, oh, like, Americans, they're not going to pay attention to you because you have like brown skin and you're Latina. Like I would get told that the only way that I could be successful was if I sang in Spanish. And I was told that I didn't have the ideal look, didn't have the ideal personality. And, a part of me, even as a kid, I was like, this is crap. Like, this is not accurate to my reality at all. And I'm glad that I like always listened to the voice within me that told me that I was capable of doing whatever I wanted, regardless of what language I sang in. And when I first started writing songs, I wrote one of my most popular songs, A Letter to My Younger Self. It was actually, when I wrote that song, it was the first time that I decided to write a bilingual song. And there was just something within me, like I kept in mind what I was told, like, oh, you can only sing in Spanish. And I was like, you know what? This is the moment where I choose to prove that person wrong. I'm going to prove that I can sing both in English and Spanish, and it won't make it like, it won't get in the way of me achieving my dream. And I just like, honestly, my biggest issue with like having to have dealt with that was just like the normalization of like literally putting a child down because of their identity and where they come from. And like now as an artist, my job is to make sure that all the other little girls and little boys out there that have big dreams, I want them to know that, listen, if you're passionate about something, it does not matter if you were born in like the middle of the ocean on like a floaty pool or something. Like you can do anything. Don't let anybody tell you that because you speak this language or you don't speak this language or you look like this. Those are all like projections that people try to put on you. And especially like, you know, looking back, like as a little girl, like I was so insecure. Like I knew that I wanted to be an artist, but like I had this like false illusion in my head that I wasn't what the world wanted. So yeah, that's why it's so important for me. Like, you know, sometimes I get a little bit annoyed with like the whole emphasis of me being Latina. Cause it's like, you know, there's more to me than just like being a Latin artist. But I do like look at it, the way that I choose to look at it to be more empowering is like, okay, I'm going to take my identity and I'm going to own it so that it inspires any other creative to do the same. Because me being Latina is just, you know, it's a little part of the bigger picture. But yeah, like I'm just here to remind people like, at the end of the day, we're all just humans and we're all passionate about whatever it is that we're passionate about. And like when you persevere and when you choose to be comfortable in your own skin, that is how the magic happens. When you choose to like be proud of who you are and just like do things your own way. That's what's worked out for me. I'm just like, you know what, this is who I am. I want to make the art that I want to make. I'm not going to go by the rules because these rules are literally rules, like, or whatever, like the recipe to success. It's all just made up. It's all just projections. People just speak on past experiences and not everybody has positive experiences. So I'm trying to create my truth in a way that is true to who I am and empowering to others.
Exactly. We love that. Oh, you said that so beautifully. And it's such a shame that so many of us, especially in past generations, went through the emotional abuse of feeling left out, of feeling like, especially when you're entering all white spaces in a casting call or trying to make it in the industry and being told that the color of your skin or because you don't fit a certain model type, you can't make it. And Ali, you mentioned this in the Ali Brooke show. You spoke a little bit about your experience and also in your book as well. Can you tell us about your experience?
Yeah, no, I totally relate to that. I was a child, you know, growing up in this business, and it's very hard. I just remember, yeah, like you said, being 12 years old in these casting rooms and kind of being the only, you know, Latina in the room. And it was very intimidating and feeling like, oh my gosh, like, do I even have a chance being here? But still, I was still always proud of who I was. I was never the issue. It was just, you know, the lack of representation, you know, that was really hard to deal with as a young child with big dreams. You know, you're coming from San Antonio to LA and it was so different. And I went through a lot, you know, and was told a lot. And even in my like, gosh, in the recent years, a lot of crazy, you know, stories as well. But the best thing is that we're living in a time where things are changing and this generation is speaking up, and it's so important, you know, and just seeing like so much more representation for us in our community is really fantastic. And even to what CJ was saying earlier, like there's bridges happening between people and different artists and cultures, and it's beautiful to see. It's so inspiring, you know, and it's so something that's so uplifting, and I hope in my own way I can contribute to that and help in that realm. And I feel like what I always kept in my heart, even when things were really hard or really dark for me, is just keep on going, keep that faith, you know, and keep fighting for your dreams, because sometimes you just have to fight or sometimes you have to wait. It's all in like the right timing and God's timing. And, you know, now I'm at a place where I'm just the happiest I've ever been. You know, I'm with surrounded by people who I love and who love me back, and creating my very first album. It's all in Spanish. I'm creating it from my heart, from my mind, from my soul, and my fans are gonna see that. And I'm just so grateful for this moment in my life. I really can't describe it.
That's amazing, and we're looking forward to that. Something that I've been thinking a lot about too, and especially when I speak to artists who've been in this industry for such a long time, is the fact that at one point, you know, a lot of Latin artists felt like they needed that US artist feature, right? And now it's the other way around, right? US artists want to hop on Latin music, right? And it's just showing how we're advancing culturally. And I'm curious to know what the future of music looks like for you guys and your personal journeys, and how you guys want to incorporate your specific experience of Latinidad, your version of Latinidad in that. CJ, what are your thoughts?
For me personally, I'm gonna just, you know, stick to what I know, and keep doing what I do. You know, like I said, hip hop was my first love. You know, I was rapping since I was 12, 13 years old. You know, I always had a love for that as a kid. And, you know, now that I'm actually starting to get into the Latin music, you know, working with, you know, these huge artists such as, you know, Alpha, Ozuna, Anuel and stuff like that, Farruko. It's just like I got the opportunity and I got the spotlight now. Like, why stop now? You know, so I'm just gonna take what I got and just take it to the top now. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully, you know, that opens the doors for, you know, future artists coming up, and they take, you know, what I got going on and they do the same as far as, you know, Latin artists trying to do hip hop and Latin at the same time. So that's just something I'm trying to set out, you know, for the future and for the upcoming artists. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep, you know, doing what I do. And like I said, I'm working on a double album right now. First ever done English and Spanish album. So, you know, hopefully that will solidify, you know, the bridge even more, I feel like, between, you know, hip hop and the Latin. So that's really it. I'm gonna just keep.
That's so exciting. I'm excited for all of y'all. Ambar, tell me about your plans or how you're visualizing your journey.
My journey. So right now, my main focus actually has been finishing up, or at least like having a clear vision with the next project that I'm working on. So I've been working on a lot of music, and something that I've really wanted to put a lot of more of my intention to is my lyrics. Because, you know, I talk a lot about like spirituality and consciousness in my music. And, you know, at the same time, I also want to improve my Spanish. So I've been trying to like, you know, mix in like spirituality with like Spanish lyrics and like finding a way to deliver that message in a way that that just like is true to my, like what I'm trying to express. Cause, you know, I can very easily do it in English, but like, you know, there's certain concepts like in Spanish that just like, you know, don't translate, as accurately as I would like them to. So like, I've been just trying to be more mindful of my lyrics, putting more intention into my music. Right now, my main focus with my music is just getting better at writing lyrics, becoming a better singer, becoming a better instrumentalist, and just being, just adding on to the representation of like what an artist who is Latina can be. You know, my goal is to be the Latina psychedelic princess of music.
Yes! I'm here for it. I want to be the fan club owner. Like, I love Instagram today. I love it. And we're really excited to see your continuous growth, girl. I'm rooting for you. Ali, you told us about your Spanish album. What is the future looking like for you for Latinidad, like the Latinidad that you're gonna incorporate in your journey, Latin music? What are your thoughts? I'm curious to know.
I just can't wait for people to hear this. I mean, it being my first album ever, and then all in Spanish. I've been in Puerto Rico recording it. I actually finished all of it over there. And I had some sessions here in Miami as well, working with everyone from like Dímelo Flow to Looney Tunes and Nice Guy. I mean, these people are insanely incredible.
You went Looney?
I know.
You got some legends.
Girl, I just can't wait for you to hear all this music. It's just, I feel like this is a time in my life where I can be me for the first time, like as an artist, and being in this business for a long time and actually saying that and meaning it is the best feeling in the world. And I just hope that I can inspire other artists, other entertainers, creators, and just inspire them to follow their dreams, and you don't have to fit this perfect mold of what, you should be like as a person or Latina. There's not one version of anyone or anything. The best version that you can be is yourself and continue to learn and grow every single day and lead with your heart and your spirit. That's it. And everything will fall into place. That's something that I want to leave everybody with. But really, I just can't wait for everybody to hear my music and to perform. It's gonna be insane.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned the diversity in Latinidad too, because that's something that I want to continue to push in the messaging, just that we need more Black representation in our industry, in music, and I hope that continues to be a powerful conversation because our Black brothers and sisters need that visibility. Because Latinidad it has so many different shades and colors, and there's different religions, and you mentioned spirituality, Ambar. There's a lot of differences in that too. So I hope to continue to have conversations where we talk about these things. It was great to know about your personal journeys and what the future has in store for you guys. I'm gonna head over to the Twitch chat where they have a few questions for you guys. So I'm gonna start with Amy Oni. This ask is for Ali. How does it feel to be connected to your roots right now? And has that changed anything for you?
Well, I've always been connected to my roots, always. But as far as musically, so my first single solo was in Spanish. And then funnily enough, the last single I had was in Spanglish too. So I've been peeping my head. I've been trying to be here for as long as I can remember. And again, it's all about timing. But it honestly just feels so amazing. It's been an adventure of a lifetime to be on this path that I'm on, to be recording my album and with all these incredible musicians and creators and producers, literally just being in the studio, feeling like home, creating with these producers, sharing my story through my music and sharing who I am. It's been the best feeling in the whole world. And of course, like making my family proud and connecting to my roots in a way that I've always wanted to, and it's finally here is really beautiful for me.
So this is for you all. What does, at least for your personal journeys, I'm actually going to ask a few more questions before we get into the chat. I'm curious to know, in terms of starting music and getting to where you guys are now, did you have a mentor that you looked up to that really gave you the fundamental advices that you needed in order to really navigate the industry while being the individual selves that you are? And I'm gonna start with you, CJ.
Yeah, growing up, my mom was there. She was a single parent for a long time, and she taught me a lot. As far as being street smart, getting my head in the book, staying in school. Always on top of me. And then as far as the music thing, like when I got older, I always had my uncle around. He been in the music business for a while. He managed, P. Diddy, he managed Nicki Minaj, 50 Cent. So I kind of just always tried to get his attention with my music. I always try to pitch it to him. And, I was always on the sideline just waiting for my turn. And, I came to him when I was ready. and he felt like I was ready too. And me and him, we just took off after that. But I would definitely say he played a big part in everything I got going on, and just being a mentor and then being there and walking me through the business side of everything. So he's a huge help. So.
What has been the one thing that you learned that has played a huge role in your consciousness right now in terms of being an artist with all of the success and what, so much has changed really fast. I'm wondering if there's anything that you can share about that.
The key thing I would say is just like stay humble. Stay humble. Like when I go out and I'm in public and I see supporters, I see my fans and stuff like that. I don't let the fame and the money get to me. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people starting to see that, like, oh wow, like he'll stop and have a conversation. He'll stop and take a picture. I feel like nowadays, like a lot of these artists, they let the fame get to their head, and they start feeling like they're too good for people. You know what I'm saying? So I always make sure, like, I stop and take the picture. If I see a little kid, a book or something, I'm gonna sign that autograph. I'm gonna take that picture. I just feel like I said, the key thing in my opinion is just stay humble, just stay true to yourself. Don't let the fame get to your head. Don't let the money, I got money, I got the fame, I got everything, I got the spotlight, but it's just like, why act stupid? You know what I'm saying? Why act out of, and just act careless. At the end of the day, like, as quick as you get to the top, you could get to the bottom again. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. And that's just how I live my life. You know what I'm saying? So.
That's awesome. Wow.
That's facts. Amber, tell me a bit about your particular experience. Did you happen to have a mentor or someone that gave you fundamental advice in experiencing and navigating this right now?
No. I feel like I just recently found mentors in my life that just empower me and encourage me to, be my best self. But growing up, like, I really it was me and myself. Like, for whatever reason, the environment that I grew up in, like, everybody was rooting for my failure. Don't know why. I think it's because, maybe I wasn't, I guess I was just so myself that, like, it intimidated the people around me, especially because, I was a kid and, like, I was into stuff that, like, most people around me weren't into. And, like, I was very passionate and had a clear image of what I wanted for my life. So much so that, like, I always knew that I wanted to be an artist, and I always said it. I always, like, manifested it for myself. I was like, I'm going to be an artist, even when that reality seemed completely impossible. So everybody thought I was crazy. And, like, everybody projected the idea that I was crazy and that, like, I was going to end up, like, in the streets or whatever. So I had to, like, follow my intuition, like, because there was a very, like, fueled fire within me that would just, like, burn so bright. Like, the universe would always scream at me, like, you are meant to be an artist. This is your calling. So I had to trust that feeling. That feeling was my mentor, my intuition telling me that this path that I really wanted to go on was worth going on. And because of that feeling, that intuition, it allowed me to come across people on my path that wanted to help me be the artist that I've always wanted to be. But, like, when I first got into this, like, I just had a dream and a very strong desire to make it true. And that's what I had to work with. And it's led me to where I am today. And now I am thankful to say that now I have people in my life who I can look up to and learn from.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of great points there, and I'm really happy you had that fire within you, girl. Aside that fire, did you feel like you had communities on the internet? Because I'm curious to know what kept you optimistic during growing up in an area where you felt that way, where you felt that you didn't have the proper support to really develop and embrace the journey in your dream, and yes, you had this fire, but I'm curious to know if even through the internet, you had some type of community.
Yeah, I actually, like, started building a little community on accident on the internet. And this is definitely what kept me motivated. one day, as soon as I started writing songs, like something just told me to upload them on SoundCloud. So every time I would write a song, I would record it on voice memos on my phone and upload it. And like, I wouldn't promote it. I wouldn't do anything. Like I would just put it out there. And I guess like this YouTube channel found it and they started posting my music and it started getting like a bunch of views on YouTube. And like from the YouTube page, people would like follow me on Instagram. And then my SoundCloud started getting more streams. And all of a sudden, like, out of nowhere, I started to get like thousands of like streams and like people messaging me. And like, that's how people from like the industry started messaging me. That's how my manager found me, through my stuff on SoundCloud. So I like wasn't even trying that hard. I was just like writing music and putting it out there and being like, let's see what happens. And I guess like the ball just got rolling on its own. Like the universe did its thing. And like, once I started to realize how much people actually enjoyed my music and appreciated it, that's when I really was like, okay, this is real. I'm no longer crazy. I can actually do this.
Oh, that sounds so dope. I mean, it is dope. Like it's a very organic rise and support. And I love that for you. Ali, you've been out here for a while too. I want to know what kept you motivated and optimistic, and if you had a mentor, especially considering, you know, the type of environments that you spoke of, for example, like in your podcast and your show, and you know, being in a girl group as well as sometimes being the only brown girl in certain spaces. I want to know more about your experience.
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. So growing up, I mean, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for my parents. Like they did more for me than most. Like they are my number one. They, you know, sacrificed so much for me. My mom put her health on the line, sacrificed so many things. My dad, you know, almost lost his job. I mean, I don't know how they did it. You know, even looking at it back at it now, they were there, you know, to make the impossible happen, to believe in their daughter. And that is something that I'm so grateful for, you know, and to believe in me, to believe in my dreams. Even when I had my hard moments, you know, my dark nights, you know, feeling insecure, getting beaten up by this crazy business, this cruel business. This business can be cruel, man. It's just freaking horrible sometimes. But there are also really incredible people who I'm like around, and it's just a blessing, you know what I mean? But my parents, like literally were my biggest cheerleaders. They were there to save me in moments of trouble. They were there to guide me, to lead me, to encourage me, and also to be like my toughest critics too, you know? So that way, because they always saw the best in me, you know, so they always wanted the best for me. And I literally wouldn't be here without them. And I just owe everything to them. And like my family is my everything. I was with them literally like 2 days ago, and it's so hard to say goodbye, even when I know I'm going to come back, you know, soon. But anyways, I want to give them all the credit in the world. I mean, that's partly why I wrote my book, was to tell their story. You know, so many people don't know what we've been through. But also another crazy story, it's pretty incredible, is that, so, you know, like the whole world knows, or, you know, my fans, that I love Selena. She literally, when I was in diapers, I would dance to her songs. I would sing to her songs. I would watch, of course, the movie. I had so many connections there. And she was like one of the biggest reasons that I chose to sing, because she made me feel like I could fly. If she was able to do it, I could do it. And even watching her interviews, I mean, everything, I just completely just was drawn to her and her heart, her spirit, most importantly. And so she's been my hero since, I mean, basically, you know, I was born. And the craziest part is, a few years ago, I was on a solo tour promoting a song. And she heard I was coming into town. And of course, she already knows I was, you know, a big fan. And so I met her. And long story short, we've been friends since that day. She, there aren't enough words to say like how grateful I am to her. She's been there for me. She's absolutely been like a mentor to me. She has given me so much priceless advice, and she's been like family to me in a way. And because of her, I got introduced to this amazing guy who I call a king. His name is Simran Singh. And basically, I met him over Zoom, and he worked with me. And basically, long story short, offered to kind of help me produce an album and create an album and all in Spanish. And literally because of Suzette, this all happened, and I'm at the best moment in my life. And like literally every day, I'm just so grateful and taking it all in. So it's crazy because of Suzette, you know, like my hero, and it's beautiful. Like it's amazing.
I'm so happy that you mentioned Selena because I feel like, huh?
I said always, like I'll always mention her. I don't care how many times. I just love her so much.
Yeah, when we think of Selena, I feel like she really was like one of those first role models for biculturality, for being that bicultural person who, yes, my Spanish is broken. I may not say 14 the way that it should sound like, and I was raised in the US, and I think with her being, with her being so authentic and just moving the way she wanted to in music was so inspiring for so many people. And I remember so many of us just feeling so identified, especially women, like, oh my God, this woman, she's Latina and she's mixing like R&B and like funk with, you know, like Mexican homegrown sounds. And, you know, for me, when I see all of you, I feel like y'all are who y'all say y'all are, right? Like y'all walk and talk, and like CJ, like Amber, like Ali. But there's also a bit of privilege within that, right? And I wanted to get into that because, for example, so many of us come from our first generations, right? First generationers, and our parents may not have had the privilege to study or pursue a dream because they had responsibilities. They decided to move to a different country in order to, you know, just build a better life. And because of that, a lot of us are able to grow up more free, you know, and I really want to dig into the concept of what free means to y'all and how y'all navigate being free in this industry. And I want to know more about your thoughts on that. CJ, what can you share?
Free to me is just, you know, being able to, you know, speak my mind, you know, in my music. I say, you know, I don't have, you know, anybody over my shoulder or anybody on my back saying, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. So when it comes down to music and writing, I just feel like that gives me, you know, that's my freedom. You know, when I'm sitting there and I'm listening to beats at home and I'm, you know, writing my music. I got a song called Lessons that's on my last project. It's called Loyalty or Royalty. And I'm pretty much just, you know, expressing my feelings and putting my all into that song. And I'm kind of just, you know, talking about, you know, how I grew up and, you know, the struggle of coming up. So that was an example of my freedom, you know, and putting my mind on the pad and speaking, you know, my thoughts on that song. So that's pretty much, you know, what I would say about freedom, just, you know, having the ability to just, you know, say what you want on records and express that out to, you know, the world. So.
Thank you, CJ. Love that. Amber, you know, when you speak about, for example, like growing up and not feeling that support, one of the questions that kind of popped in my head is sometimes just being so uniquely different that the imagery, the aesthetic of your clothing and the music you hear make people so uncomfortable and just don't understand it because it's not what the popular space is kind of grown, like listening to, right? And I wonder, you know, if that is also embedded in you being just free, you know, just dismissing that. And I wonder what that experience was like for you. Like, were you growing up in a space where people maybe predominantly listen to hip hop and you weren't? I want to know more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've definitely I have some energetic battle scars of just like judgment and like people projecting onto me because, you know, maybe my aesthetic made them uncomfortable. I actually dealt with this a lot more when I was like 13, because that's when I went into like my emo phase and like my family was freaking out. They were like, what's wrong with her? Why does she only wear black? And I don't know. I feel like something that's like proven to me that like it really like we really don't have to like take other people's projections and opinions too seriously, because like when I was only like, okay, so I'm 20 years old now. I was in high school like 3 years ago. Even then, like I dressed the same way that I dressed back then. But back then I used to get so much crap for it. People used to say things like my family and like, you know, my family, they still make little comments about stuff that I wear. But like now, like because of TikTok and like, you know, social media, like having like an alternative or just like, you know, a more creative aesthetic is a little bit more normalized. People are definitely not as quick to criticize now as they were back then. And I feel like, to me, like looking back on it now, I'm like, why not be free if like people are going to change their minds about certain things anyways? Like something that might be super cool now might not be cool in like 5 years, or something that people think is like absolutely ridiculous now might be like the most popular thing like later on. I just feel like, you know, to me, freedom is everything, like, especially as an artist, because, you know, everything that I do, everything that I say, music videos that I make, music that I make, stuff that I write, paintings that I draw, merch that I release, it all comes back to me. And like, basically, like I am projecting an image out to the world, and that image is going to leave an impact. So might as well make that image accurate to who I am, so that when it comes back to me, when it bounces back to me, when I hear and see how other people perceive me, I would rather it be accurate rather than like something false that I felt like I had to play into because, you know, other people had something to say. So my freedom is everything. And just kind of like how CJ was saying before, like my freedom to express myself, like that is something very important to me, because that's what creates this path for me. That's what creates the reactions that I get back. And, you know, I've noticed that the more free that I am, the more in tune my fan base is with who I am, which is very important to me. It's so important for me to just release content, whether it's just like simply speaking, or a post, or like what I choose to wear in a music video, or how I want a project to sound. I feel like, you know, the more free that I am with the expression of the things that I do, the more I identify with my audience and they identify with me.
Absolutely. Yes. These answers are on point. And before I get to Ali, you know, when we think about your music and your experience, it talks a lot to the immigrant family and the immigrant kids, right? And growing up, you kind of faced the trauma of being separated by a parent because of immigration. Well, you know, your dad and everything. And I kind of wanted to know more about how that can shape also your experience, and if there's any advice that you can give to anyone that's currently going through that.
Yeah. You know, my biggest motivation with wanting to talk about this subject in my life is just the loneliness that I felt as a child, just because it was, you know, I always say this, like the topic of like, you know, having a parent that was deported was a big no, like that could never be mentioned to anybody. So it's something that I had to suffer alone. Like I didn't really have that many people to like, you know, basically like share my trauma with. And, you know, it's a very traumatic, lonely experience, especially like if you're a kid, like, so you know, what I have to say to anybody who's going through it is I'm so sorry. Like, this is so unfair. And, you know, there's no reason why you should be suffering alone. Like there's many other people that have experienced the same pain. And I want the conversation of that kind of topic to be normalized, because we need to be there for each other. Like nobody should be going through something traumatic as that, like in silence. Like I had to, like, you know, I had to go through that traumatic experience. And now as an adult, like I have to like untangle all of that trauma and like heal it so that it doesn't create blockages in my adult life. So I would say like, it's okay to feel how you feel. It's okay to suffer. It's okay to not handle a situation like that, you know, and like like I just feel like it's unrealistic to stay silent about that stuff. And I would just highly encourage anybody who's going through something like that to, you know, seek out comfort and just conversation and nurturing. I think it's very important for us to be there for each other, especially, you know, with things that can feel as lonely as, you know, a separation like that.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, thank you so much for being so honest and transparent about your experience and vocal about it, because so many, you know, people feel seen by that. And that comfort that you mentioned about, you know, them searching that comfort, even them seeing someone that they idolize or like are influenced by speak on it, creates that comfort, if you get what I'm saying. So thank you so much for being so brave and just being vulnerable in front of everyone and publicly to talk about it. Thank you so much. Ali, tell me about what freedom and free means to you, and what does that look like in the industry, and how you navigate the industry?
Well, I definitely know what it feels like to not feel free. I mean, especially like as an artist, you know, just being kind of just looking back even on a few years ago and not being allowed to just be who I was at all, you know, not even like dress how I wanted to dress and talk how I wanted to talk and be who I was, express myself, be authentic. To now, I mean, just being surrounded by people who just pour out so much love in me and encourage me and who love me for me. And they want me to be who I am as a person and an artist, and to put that out there, you know, into the world, through what I love to do, you know, through my music, through my art. That is so important to me. And kind of what you said earlier, just thinking about like my parents, you know, they didn't have certain choices, you know, for things, especially my grandma, you know, like she has such an incredible story, and they are my strength. They are my everything. And I'm doing all these things that are present to me at the moment, you know. I'm just so grateful and taking in every moment, and especially, you know, enjoying this and loving this and taking in every moment for those who can't, you know, for those who couldn't is so important to me. And just being happy, being true to myself again, just expressing myself the way that I want to through my, most importantly, my music. And then, you know, my clothes, my art, however I want to dress, being on social media, everything. That is it is a gift.
Thank you, Ali. I also want to get to, and with Latinidad, and I kind of mentioned that earlier, just there's so many variations, right? Because it's really hard to encompass like 30 countries with different ethnicities and cultures and like Spanish dialects and you know, ancestries that are very unique to them. I'm curious to know what Latinidad looks like for each of you, like individually. Like, I really want to start having conversations on the different versions of Latinidad, because especially here in the US, like if you're growing up in LA or the South, your version of Latinidad, especially when it comes to regionality, may look a little different. And I want to know more about culturally what Latinidad felt like for each and every one of you. So I'm going to start with you, CJ. What did Latinidad kind of look like growing up in Staten Island? Was there a Latino community? What did that look like for you?
Well, in Staten Island, I wouldn't say it was a Latin community. It was more like mixed. You know, I went to you know, elementary school, middle school, high school with, you know, a mixed crowd. It was a lot of, you know, Latin. It was a lot of African American. It was a lot of white. So, you know, my friends were, you know, they were mixed. As far as me getting more in tune with my Latin side, it would be, I would say, like during like family time, you know, when it was time for, you know, my family to come over, Sunday dinners, parties, weddings and stuff like that. So that's when I really started, touch more with my culture. But as far as like growing up in Staten Island, it was mixed. You know, I feel like in New York City, period, it's a mixed crowd. You know, like I said, you got the Latin, you got the African American, you got the white. So your friends just, is a bunch of mixed cultures. But yeah, like if it wasn't for, my mom and her side of the family being around all the time, like I said before, I have a huge family. So they would come around, and that's when I would, interact with them more, and they would try to, teach me more of the culture. So, and that would make me, grow up and want to learn more. So.
Dope. Is there anything that you would want to share maybe for people that are non-Latinos? Is there a fact or anything that you would want to share that has to do with that?
Like for me personally, like I said, as I got older, I wanted to get more in tune and really like find out more information about my background. So I decided upon myself to, go out to Puerto Rico and take those trips and go on vacation and really touch the roots and go to Dominican Republic and see what's going on out there and their culture. So that was what I always wanted to do. I wanted to get, more deep into that. So I wanted to see what was going on out there and then come back and see like, wow, like even coming back home and it just feel like we take a lot of stuff for granted. You know what I'm saying? Like those are like third world countries. You go to DR, they don't really have much. You go to Puerto Rico, you go to the hood, they don't have a lot. They don't have what we have. We take certain things for granted, but a lot of those kids, a lot of those, those mothers, they don't know what's going to be their next meal. So it's just like, it just opens up your mind a little bit. So, but that was always something, like I said, I wanted to do. I wanted to go out there and see what's going on out there, because that's where we come from. You know what I'm saying? So, just because we're born, in the U.S., our background is there. That's our roots. So I always wanted to just touch base with that. So,
thank you so much for sharing that, CJ, and I'm glad you're taking that initiative. We're getting great music out of it. So, Ambar, tell me about what Latinidad felt and looked like for you growing up in New Jersey, and then you've traveled to, like, what was your experience like?
Well, I feel like I was definitely most in tune with like my culture when I was around family, but also like something that kind of tripped me out a little bit later in life was, I feel like growing up, I grew up in a town where there was a lot of Latinos around me, but there were also a lot of people who were not Latino. And I feel like, me being Latino was always like very emphasized. Like it was like, oh, like you're Dominican and Mexican. Like that was always like a very like loud part of my identity. And, I always viewed it that way too, like very proudly, until I went to Spain. And I realized that people didn't view me as Latina. They viewed me as American. And that was like kind of like a culture shock to me, because I was like, wait, what? So like, I'm not like super Dominican and Mexican, and like that like kind of made me redefine how I viewed myself. And I was like, you know what, like now that I think about it, like, yes, I'm Latina, but like I'm also American as hell, because like, having conversation with like I'm first generation, so I would have conversations with like my family members, and they would flame me about my Spanish. And I just feel like personally, I feel like there's 8 billion people on this planet. There's going to be so many different versions of what being Latinx means. And to me personally, I think that, me growing up with, the heavy Dominican influence in my life, and just like always being proud of my identity. That's what like being Latina like means to me. Just like, being myself and not feeling like I have to like, be this or be that, or like I'm not enough of this. because, you know, I grew up around Dominicans, but I didn't really grow up around Mexicans. So something that I can relate to with CJ is like, I wanted to, like now I want to be more in tune with my Mexican roots, just because, you know, looking back, truly, I see now like how, you know, there's just still so much for me to learn, because yes, I was around a lot of Latinos, but there's always more to learn, because, you know, I didn't grow up in Dominican Republic, didn't grow up in Mexico. I grew up in the US. So the version of of being Latina, like is different than everybody else, you know, because everybody has their own unique experience. And I think it's very important to validate people's identity and to, let them know that, you know, hey, it's okay. Like we can both be Latino, and like, you know, I could speak Spanish and maybe you don't speak Spanish, but like maybe you know more about, you know, a certain aspect of our culture that I don't, or maybe you have a better understanding of something that I don't. So I just, yeah, to me, like, you know, growing up and then like, you know, basically going from a bubble where like, you know, I was told that I was this thing, and then going to another bubble and being told that I was something else. I feel like, you know, that showed me how important it is for me to create my own identity and define it myself, because, you know, it's unfair for other people to tell you like how Latino you are or are not.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to know more about your personal like branding of what Latinidad means to you, right? And what it looks like, because everyone's is different. And through your conversation, like the first thing that popped in my head is that idea of ni de aquí ni de allá, like I'm not from here or there, because in the US, you went to Spain, they're telling you, no, you American, but in the US, you may have felt before like you weren't American, like you were more Dominican. So it's a we occupy a very interesting, peculiar space in society. And I think that the way that you guys kind of navigate the industry really reflects that, because y'all juggling two cultures, you're sandwiched between two cultures, and y'all navigate it the way y'all want to and approach it the way y'all want to. So kudos to y'all. Ali, how about you? What did your version of Latinidad look like? I know that, yeah, you're from San Antonio, but you also spent time in LA, right?
Yes, yeah, in the past few years for sure, and especially pursuing, you know, a dream, coming out with my parents to LA. But actually growing up, you know, in San Antonio, what it really looked like was family. I mean, of course, like San Antonio is a very diverse city. It's very mixed too. I think that's why people, you know, love it, because everyone feels welcome there. We're very family oriented. We want to welcome you. Like we want you to come over. We want to have dinner with you, or we want, you know, to cook for you. That's just who we are, you know. And yes, it is a Hispanic dominated city. But it was, you know, awesome growing up, being so proud of who we were, you know, feeling like family was everything, you know. That was super important to my parents to teach me, you know, that, hey, your brother and your sister, you know, y'all stay close and you support one another and be there for each other, and make sure to be that, you know, shoulder to cry on, and just be there for each other and accept each other for who you are. And, you know, on weekends, we would have our barbecues, go to grandma's house, or, you know, people would come over to ours or aunt's house, and we would just grow up and have our food, our Tex-Mex, enchiladas, rice and beans, tortillas, I mean, all these things. And I actually learned to make a lot of those meals when I was young, and during the pandemic, I learned to make tortillas, harina, that's how you say it, flour tortillas, and they're awesome. But really just feeling celebrated, you know, in our city was really, really important. And then spending time in LA was a culture shock, especially at such a young age, you know, being a young girl. And again, that time was so different. And now we're just seeing the world and media and culture change, which is a really fantastic thing. But that's kind of what it meant to me, you know. And I also think for sure when I came out to LA and kind of got my big break, like I was told, you know, that I wasn't enough, and I was made fun of for certain things. And especially kind of back then having a lot more trouble with my Spanish, that was a major insecurity of mine that just like totally slapped me in the face and just made me feel honestly just not enough. And it made me feel, how do you say, just insufficient, just not enough, it made me question my identity. But being in this world and now being where I'm at now, I mean, people have been so kind to accept me and to love me, to see the artist I am, the person I am, and also to help me. I think that's been the best thing, is people who help, and I'm there to help other people as well. And I try to give back as much as I can to my community and my friends, the people who need me, and my fans. That's what it's all about. But that was kind of my experience and my journey. And again, just pushing that, the narrative of the positive narrative of, there's so many types of us, and who we are and what we look like, how we talk, how we speak, our stories, we all have our own stories and our own paths.
Exactly. And I love that everyone got to share theirs and they're all valid. And this is what conversations like these are about, to just celebrate the differences and the unique experiences. We spoke earlier about being the bridges, right? And this month, the theme is La Cultura that connects us. How do y'all see that reflected in music or your personal lives? I know that we spoke a lot about the initiatives that you individually are all taking to really take that power back in your culture and in music. Amber, what can you say?
Honestly, the way that I am doing my part is by loving myself fully and truly, accepting all parts of myself, going to therapy, making sure that I can be the best artist that I could possibly be in my lifetime, so that I can leave a positive impact, so that I can make a mark on the Latin community in a way that is so powerful, that it empowers and heals people. My goal here is to heal the collective through music and through art and creativity. And, my self journey, my self-care is very important to me. So I'm just out here trying to be the best that I could be, so I could, make my people proud and to make myself proud. And to hopefully, be one of the most legendary Latin artists ever.
Yes, I love that. CJ, how are you seeing this reflected in your music and life? How are you taking your power back? I know that you spoke of, learning Spanish, and now you're doing collaborations with Latin artists. Tell us more about the other ways.
Pretty much, I just wanna leave a stamp. I wanna create history. Like I was saying before with the, creating that bridge of hip hop and Latin music. I wanted to inspire other Latin artists coming up, or even, artists from DR, artists from Puerto Rico. I want to give them that hope, like, oh, I could be like CJ. I could, I could start off with Latin music and go into the hip hop, or I could, start off with hip hop and go into the Latin. You know what I'm saying? I just want to give artists that inspiration, and just they could just follow my lead. Like I said, I just want to create history and people to acknowledge, like, oh, okay, he was the first one to do this. He was the first one to do that. You know what I'm saying? And then I just wanted to just, go on from there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just want to create history. That's my main goal.
Yes, that's so powerful, man. La Cultura that connects us. Ali, how are you reclaiming space? I know that we spoke about your album. What else is being reflected in your journey and in your life?
Man, I mean, I feel like this is such a pivotal moment for me. I've worked my whole life for this moment. That's why I keep kind of saying it, because it means so much to me. Being that little girl with big dreams and having, quite the journey to get here. I've been through a lot, more than most. All of us have been through so much as artists and as people. And for me, just to get to this point is pretty incredible. And for me, I just want to spread hope and spread joy through my music. I know a lot of people need that, especially now. And just being myself and showing, especially, young boys and girls, that you can do it. You can have what's in your heart. You can have your dreams, they can come true. You have your own path, and that may be one way to you, but you can do it. To me, that's so important. That's the message, and I hope that my music can inspire, that can leave a positive mark on so many people, can bless people. Like, that's what I want, is through my art, through my entertainment, when I'm on that stage, whatever I do, social media, that it can help someone and inspire someone else. That's the goal. And I just hope that I can leave my own mark on this world.
Ooh, yes, I'm so excited for you all, and I'm excited to just be a part of this journey and to see you all grow. Thanks for sharing that, guys. We're gonna we're really gonna move on to the questions, to the Twitch tab. I know that we have a few fans here that have some really cool questions. The first one is from Amanda San Juan, and it's for Ali. How does it feel to finally come back to your roots and produce an entire album in Spanish?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's kind of similar to what you asked earlier, but really just like so incredible, so beautiful. It's like home, and I wanted this for so long, and to be able to just pour myself into an album to create with people that I love, who have the same mind and energy, and I'm such an energy person, and like this energy has been unbelievable. And just like to be around such good-hearted people, a team of believers, a team of fighters, a team of doers, it's just incredible, and I just feel like I can be free to be myself. And I keep saying that, but it's just priceless when you have never really felt like this your whole life. When you have this, it is beautiful. So I know that my fans are gonna see that and feel that in my music and in my shows and in my performances.
Thank you. This is from Taylor and Misa 21. CJ, how do you feel about your upcoming album, and how have you grown since creating it? That's girl.
I feel blessed to even be in this position. Last year when I first dropped my single Whoopty, I would have never thought I would be in this position a year later. Like I said, I started off with rap. I started off with hip hop. That was my first love. And then, now intertwining, the two cultures, it's a blessing. This is something I always thought of doing as I was a kid. And, now with my up and coming project, like I said, I'm doing an English and a Spanish album. So it just, it just shows versatility coming from me. I could express my talent. I could express my background. I could express my story on this project. So I'm looking forward to, putting it out there for the supporters and the fans.
Love that. And there's two comments that I have to bring out here because I was thinking the same thing. The first one's from Amy Oni, and she says, I would love to see a collab between Ali and Ambar. They seem so cute and silent. And then we also got Luis05, Ambar, Lucid, Ali, Brooke, CJ in a song, Flames. So basically, we need you on a collab. Thank you.
Yes, that would be awesome. I'm so down.
So this question is from Miko Baiko, I think. Sorry if I chopped up the name. Ali, what's a hint that you can give for your showcase this week?
Oh my gosh. Man, a hint? I would just say, oh my gosh. A hint. Música. It's just music.
Lit. This showcase should be lit. Lbugs123. Go CJ, keep shining. He also asked, what are your top 5 MCs? Who are your top 5 MCs?
My top 5 MCs. I grew up, like early 2000 hip hop. So like I would say 50 Cent, Jay-Z, Nas, Lil Wayne,
Ooh.
and I'll say I'll put Big Pun in there.
That's a solid 5. L Bugs also asked for Amber, most surreal moment of your career.
Probably being on Elite.
That was such a beautiful scene, may I add. You had your little butterfly wings looking like a fairy. It was very pretty. Yeah. What was that like recording?
Honestly, it was a very magical experience. Everybody that I met on set was so nice, and like the costume team, like they were so cool. And I don't know, it was just fun to dress up and to be part of a big moment for me. Like, you know, even while, you know, shooting that scene, like I could feel like energetically, like the impact that I was going to have on just like, you know, growing my audience. And yeah, so far it's been the most surreal moment for me.
Love that for you. Amy only asks Ali, well, she says, ask Ali if she has plans to release a ballad in Spanish. We love her voice so much.
Oh, yes, for sure. Yes. And I can't wait for you guys to hear.
And Miko asks Ali, would you ever do a K-pop artist, a collab?
As me?
Yeah.
Of course. Oh my gosh. I came close because on the Casa Grandes, it was a fake K-pop band with my character in it, which was awesome. So we need to make that happen, putting it out there, please.
Yes, and Miko also asked, from Fifth Harmony to your first solo debut, and now could I say re-debut, what makes this feel more special?
Oh my gosh, it's the most special because it's really it's me, you know. I mean, just hands down, from the creation to the lyrics to even like the creative, you know, everything, even from the video to the literal music to my live show, everything, you know. And I have to shout out Simran Singh, Eric Doers. I mean, I have the best team. Will Bracey, I have the best team in the business who really just support me in my visions and who I am as an artist. So it's just, simply put, just because it's me, it's from my heart. I'm getting shy.
L Boogie Baby, this is for CJ. She says, we need more flames. The flame emoji. L Boogie Baby, you actually, CJ, you dropped a song today. Tell us a bit about your song.
Yeah, so I got a song out called Replica. It's me and Alafa. It's a dembo type of style. I would say pretty much like a part 2 to the last song me and him dropped. It's called La Mama. So it's kind of like, yeah. So it's kind of like you know, a dancing song, you know, more of a vibe, you know, a club record. You know, we just having fun with it right now. I'm cooking up for the album, you know, so you'll definitely see more content. Also dropping another single within the next month, shooting a video to that. So that'll be back to, you know, drill, you know, same Whoopie song. So yeah, I got more songs coming real soon. Album coming out real soon too.
Oh, we all exciting. This question is from Hugh, and it says, what items are in your toolbox that put you in that creative space? This could be maybe personal items that keep you motivated.
Who's that for?
That's for everyone. So who wants to start?
So I actually have a creativity bag that I usually take with me to sessions, and I have
That's awesome.
I have Oracle cards, tarot cards, my iPad, because I love drawing on my iPad, astrology workbooks, at least 1 or 2 books that I could just like open and like, you know, find inspiration for words. What else? And sometimes I just throw like crystals in there, just like random, like cute little objects. I don't know. I usually just have to keep things that like have words on them. So like I can read something and like, you know, spark something up here.
Love that. How about you, Ali?
I don't really have any. I mean, I bring my backpack. It has a bunch of like random stuff. But I don't even use it. That's the funniest part. I bring it, I never use it. Yeah, I mean, honestly, That's what I'm gonna call. I really don't have anything, to be honest. I kind of just show up with a bag that I don't really use. It's just for show, and just come with good energy. That's what it is. Always good energy, good vibes.
Love that. CJ, do you have a toolbox? Do you have anything special that keeps you motivated or puts you in that creative space?
I'm a simple person. I would say like I just bottles of water, little snacks here and there. When I go in the studio, I get a little hungry, got the munchies.
Yes.
That's really it. Like I said, I'm not really complicated. I don't really need much. Once I, it can't be cold. It can't be too cold. I think I'm anemic or something, but it can't be too cold in the studio. Once it gets too cold, like I just.
I'm the same.
Yeah, I get out of my vibe, so I gotta have, either like a little hoodie on or something, make sure it's a little dim, and then just get in my vibe.
Love that. Honestly, y'all, it was really dope to have this conversation with y'all. I feel like I know you all on like a more personal level, walking out here, a bigger fan than what I already was. I hope that you guys continue to push the culture forward and to honestly continue to be your authentic selves. And honestly, good luck in any creative projects, performances, the albums that y'all are working on. And I hope y'all all kill it, which y'all are, but sending you that positive energy. Thank you so much for joining us here with Amazon Music on Twitch. Join us next Friday, same time, same place. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.